Good afternoon. My name is Ben Weisenberger. I'm an application engineer with Ally PLM Solutions. I want to welcome you to the Ally PLM Lunch Byte series. These sessions are designed to briefly explore capabilities within Solid Edge that you may not be aware of. Today's session is on exploded views and live rules in ST4. If you have any questions, please write them down and send us them in an email. We want these sessions to be informative, so if you have any future topics that you want us to cover, please let us know. Like I said, we'll be doing exploded views and flow lines. With ST4, we have new Annotation Flowline command. This new command allows the user to draw flow lines for draft and drawing documentation purposes. These annotation flow lines are for display and drawing views only and are not in any way associated with exploded events. The auto and manual explode commands create events used in animations. These flow lines are driven by location and connection points to the components and update as the components are moved. The flow line commands are disabled until an explosion has occurred or a component is moved. Prior to ST4, the user could create an explosion and the flow lines were created automatically with very little user control. We offered a flow lines command which basically allows the user to extend the flow line, drag the flow line, or make adjustments to the shape of the flow line, but this was fairly limited. The idea behind the new flowline command is to provide us an easy-to-use tool to assist the user in manually creating the flow lines they want for draft and drawing documentation purposes, as I mentioned earlier. So for a typical workflow, first you create an exploded view using the auto or manual method. And when this is done, it'll place those explosion events into the explosion events collector in the Pathfinder. Once the explosion is created, that you then have the option to drop these explosion events, which will then place them in the Flowline Collector. And then at this point, you can either modify those flow lines, delete them, or you can draw new ones. With the draw command, you can draw new flow lines. When you click the draw command, the toolbar appears. You can change the orientation that you want the flow lines to be in. After adding a flow line, you have the option to choose the path. If you've done any work with piping, you've seen this before, where you can change your path. And I'll show you that in a couple examples. You also have the ability to modify flow lines. You can change the orientation, like with the draw command. You can also split the flow line as well as delete it. When you use the modify command and you click on one of the flow lines, it'll come up with two arrows that allow you to pull the flow line in and out or up and down. And if you'd like to move multiple flow lines, you can simply hold down the control key and move multiple segments. The next part of the modify command is the split option, and you can use this to split segments so that when you modify and drag them, you can jog them around other parts, for example. And I'll show you all this in a couple examples. When you create a single straight flow line, it automatically splits it into multiple parts for you, so that if you modify it, it'll break it apart automatically for you. And then the last option is the delete annotation flow line. You can either delete the entire flow line or segments, but you have to select at least two segments if you're deleting segments of the flow line. And in the Flowline Collector, you can select flow lines and you can choose to show them or hide flow lines. You also have the ability to delete flow lines from here. So if we switch over to Solid Edge here, I have an assembly. I have a couple of display configurations. First we go into Tools command here into ERA. And we'll open up my custom explode display configuration that I created earlier. And here you can see some flow lines. And we're going to go in and just start modifying them, drawing some new ones. So we'll go up to our new draw command here. We'll set our orientation with this command. And we want it to be in the same orientation as these vertical pieces here. So we're going to click on this front face. Next, we're going to connect this bolt here. We'll click this face here, and we want to connect it to the other one on the other side. So we'll click that one, and we can right-click to finish. And there's our new flow line that we just created. Now we can zoom in over here, and we can then drag this component. So with the select command, we can highlight these two parts, select drag component, change our orientation to match our flow line, and then we can drag that component up. Now you see our flow line doesn't go through this washer, which is, we want it to, so we can use the modify command then. We can come down here and click that. All we have to do is click it. It comes up with our two arrows there. And we'll click this one to pull it to the left. And then we can move it over and place it so it goes through our bolt or our washer then. Next thing we want to do is connect this plate down here to this post again. So we'll go back into our draw command. We'll center our orientation to that front face again. We'll come up here and click this hole and this one down here. And now you can see we have the option to choose a different path. So we're going to click this a couple times until we get the path that we want, which is this one right here. Now with the modify command, if we want to move both of these segments, we simply click one, hold down Control, and we can click the other one. And now we have the ability to move both of those at the same time. So then we can click to place those. And one more flow line we want to add here is from this part to the bracket over here. So we'll go back to draw, set our orientation again. We'll choose our first part and then choose the hole we want it to go to and right click to finish. Now what we want to do is we're going to use the split flowline command here under modify. So we'll click that. And you see when you start going over the flow line, it'll have a dot where it's going to split. So you just click where you want to split it. We want to split it there. And then we want to come over to the other side of this post because we want to jog the flow line around it. So we'll click again there. And we can just click the modify command again to get out of it, or the split command, excuse me. When we go back to modify, we can now grab that split segment and pull it out away from that. Now let's say you pulled it away too many times like this and you wanted to delete a few of the segments and bring it back to that original jog. Here we can go into the delete command and you have the option to choose either the entire flow line or you can just delete the segment. So we can click, you have to click at least two segments, so we'll click these two and right click to accept, and now we're back to where we wanted to be. We come over here to the collector. And like I said before, you can delete or show hide different flow lines simply by right-clicking on them. You can show hide or delete different flow lines. The regular select tool will not locate flow lines graphically. So if I'm in the select tool here, I cannot go over and click them out here on the part. But I can click them over here and delete them or show and hide them. Alright, that's it for this example. Let me open up another one and show you some more about flow lines. Here we have a tube roller. Again, we'll go to Tools, go into ERA. I'll open up the exploded view that I created. Now here, this one was created with the use of either the auto or manual explode, using one of these up here. When you use auto or manual explode, it creates the explosion collector, and under the collector it creates events. So over here under explosion, we can go into the group, event, and here you can see each explosion event and highlight it on our part. Each one of those events is a flow line, but these are used for animations mostly. You have the option then to drop these flow lines, and these will show up then in the Flowline Collector. So if I click this, they now show up over here in the Flowline Collector. So I've done this and saved this as a display configuration already. So here's all our flow lines in the Flowline Collector. So we can zoom in up here on some of these bolts here, and we're going to draw a couple more flow lines. So do our draw command. We'll click this bolt, and we want to do it to this hole. Now if you click on modify and just highlight over this flow line, you can see that it's broken already into two sections, and this is done automatically for you if you just create a straight flow line, so that if we do this move here, if we drag this component, it'll break that flow line and move it for us and make that move. Now if we do modify, we can click that segment, we can move it if we want, move it in the other direction. Now if you want to get this back here in line with these, all you have to do is click the arrow, and then you can highlight over the segments you want it to snap back to and click, and it'll snap back in line for you. If you click the end segments, it'll show a new symbol here at the end. It has an arrow and a sphere. If you grab the arrow, that'll allow you to move where the end of the flow line is. If you click the sphere, that lets you define the new starting point of the flow line. So if you accidentally place it on the wrong part, you can redefine it to the end of another part. Alright, if we zoom out, you can see over here we have a pulley and the bearings for it, and the flow line's already created, so we want to do the same thing on the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this part a little closer, so we're going to highlight it, drag component, and we want to move it up and over a little closer to our main assembly here. So we'll go ahead and place it there. Next thing we want to do is do the draw command, and we want to draw from the circle in the plate here to this bushing on the outside. Now let's say that's not the orientation we want. Before we hit finish, we can go in and change our orientation either before or after we draw that line and select a new orientation. And if we want, we can change our path as well. So we're going to go with that as our path. So then right click to finish. And we'll draw a line from the bushing to the pulley. And we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side over here. But this one we're going to set our orientation first. It doesn't matter which order you do it. So if we set it first, we can then draw. Let me rotate this around from the circle to our bushing again. We can hit next and get the same path that we have on the other side and hit finish. We can then draw a line from that bushing to the pulley again, and then we have our flow lines. So let's see what happens when we move this pulley out. Flow lines will update with any moves or modifications that you make to the part. So if we pull this out, you'll see the flow lines will update with it. We can pull it down and it updates again. And you can always go back and do modify and delete segments if you want. If you don't want this bend in the middle there, you can click those two segments and delete and make it a smoother flow line then. And we can delete those two segments as well. So then what you can do with your flow lines, so you can go up to your display configurations and create a new one. Let's create one just called draft. Then we can go over, close out an ERA, and we can make a new drawing. We'll just run an ISO draft here, start the wizard. We can do a front view, top view, right view, and we'll place those. And then we can go back into our wizard and we can select that draft that we saved with our custom flow lines and place that into our drawing sheet here. You can also then change it. Let's make it shaded so you can see. And then the flow lines, if we don't like how they look there, we can right click on the view and go to properties, and under annotation we can show different styles of how we want the flow lines to look. So you can change it to dotted lines. We're just going to go with a normal line and hit OK. And now our lines are updated so you can see them better. So that's how you can edit the flow lines in your drawing and how you want them to show up. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about is some live rules real quick. Live rules are used to locate and display the inferred geometric relationships between faces in the current select set and the rest of the model. This information is used to control how synchronous modifications are performed. Live rules are available for the following type of synchronous modeling modifications. If you're moving or rotating model faces or features, you can define 3D geometric relationships, edit 3D PMI dimensions, or editing dimensions in the variable table. And I'll show you some of that in a couple examples. Live rules automatically appears when you move faces, define 3D relationships, or edit dimensions. The active options in live rules determine how the rest of the model reacts to the edit that you're performing. And here's just a quick slide I made to show you each of the live rules and its keyboard shortcuts. These come in handy a lot. If you're making moves and you want to turn, let's say, symmetric off or coplanar axis, and you don't want to always go down and click the button, it's nice to use these keyboard shortcuts. So you can come back and watch the video later and write these down or take a screenshot and print it out for your use. So we'll go back to Solid Edge now, and I'll do a couple examples for you. Let me close out of this part. So here we have a bracket. We have a sketch here, so let's mirror that sketch across real quick. Then we can extrude this region that we just created. We'll pull that down. Now let's say we want to make some edits to this. We can grab this front face, and here our live rules comes up because we're going to make a synchronous move. If we grab that handle there, we can pull this out, and now you can see it's bringing the other face along with us. Let me pause this. It's bringing this face along with us because of the symmetry here along the YZ plane, which is this plane here vertically. So if we hit S on the keyboard, we can turn symmetry off. And now you can see that it's turned red because we turned that and made it inactive. But now it's picking up that these faces are coplanar, so it's still going to bring this other face along for the ride. And what Solid Edge does is the first live rule that it picks up will either be symmetry or coplanar axis, and it will turn these on first. And then if those are turned off, it'll come over and look at these and decide whether it's coplanar or concentric, and I'll show you that with some other moves here. So while I have this paused, let me explain these colors. When live rules detects model geometry that matches an active setting, which is the yellow live rules here, the setting display in live rules appears in green. So that when you can see that these are coplanar and this command is active, it turns green then. When live rules detects model geometry that matches an inactive setting, such as symmetry that I turned off, the setting display in live rules appears as red. The options you select are clear in the maintain list. For the current edit operation are saved for future edit operations in the current design session, and when you exit Solid Edge, these current live rule settings are maintained for the next design session. So if I were to close this part and open it again, symmetry would be turned off, since that's how I have it saved right now. And so if you're going along and you have certain live rules turned on or off, you can always restore them by hitting the restore button or hitting R on your keyboard, and that'll restore our symmetry there. So let's zoom in here on these holes and let's try to move one of them and see what happens. So if we grab this and move this hole, you can see it turned on symmetry for us as well as maintain coplanar axis. So if we turn some of those off, let's turn off symmetry. It's going to keep moving the holes because now it turned on concentric and it's maintaining us along the z-axis. So it started with symmetry, like I said before, and when you turn that off, it'll go find another live rule to turn on. So we can turn all those off, and now we're able to just move that one hole. These ears up here that I made, these mounting brackets, if we try to make some edits to those, let's see what happens. It's bringing this other one with us, and now we have another live rule turned on. We have tangent, because when this was drawn, this face was drawn tangent to this arc, so it's going to maintain that tangency for us. If we suspend that live rule or turn it off, you can see now that it's just pulling the whole arc straight away from the part instead of keeping those faces tangent to the arc. And you can also turn off symmetry as well as the axis, and it'll allow us just to move one of them if you don't want to move both ears at the same time. And then in here, if we come and make an edit to this face, let's say we want to rotate it, you can see it's not staying parallel with that inside face. This face here and the face we're making the move to aren't parallel anymore. So what we can do is you can do a face relate, and if we make these two faces parallel and hit accept, and then we try to do that same rotation, down in live rules, it'll highlight the parallel command for us. Let me try that again. Because we added that relationship, which is over here in the Pathfinder, that we have a parallel relationship, it's also highlighting down here in live rules, and that's automatically maintaining that parallel for us. Alright, let me open up another part to help explain tangent some more. So here's tangent connected. We just have a circle drawn here in the middle of our part. So if we make a move to this, you can see that tangent turns on in live rules, and what it's trying to do is maintain these side faces tangent to that circle. So if we turn tangency off, now it's allowing us to move that circle freely throughout the part, because it's not maintaining tangency between those faces and the circle. Same thing happens if we grab the faces and move those, tangency will turn on there, and it'll try to keep it tangent to that circle. If you turn tangency off, it'll allow us just to move that face up and down freely. In the sheet metal environment, another live rule is added. So if we grab this front face here, you'll see we have another rule down here, and it's maintain thickness chain. And what this does is if we grab our axis down here to pull this away, it's bringing all these faces along for the ride because they're all the same thickness as the face I selected over here. If I hit H on the keyboard to turn that off, now it'll allow me just to pull this one face away. If you suspend live rules, it does not affect the setting of the thickness chain option. So if I suspend live rules here, and I hit H on the keyboard, it still allows me to pull that entire chain with it, even though live rules is suspended. So this one overrides the suspend command. And one other thing that I mentioned before is that you can also use live rules when you're driving 3D dimensions. So if you select this dimension here, you can see live rules comes up again, and with my scroll wheel I can drive this dimension, and hitting H again I can either turn that on and off and drive this with live rules. So that's another way you can use dimensions and live rules to change your parts. Let me open up another example and talk a little bit about advanced live rules now. Advanced live rules dialog displays the selected geometry and any related or unselected geometry based on the current live rule settings in a structured tree. You can use the options on the advanced live rules dialog to specify whether any, some, or all of the related faces respond to the current settings in live rules. The advanced live rules dialog is only available during a synchronous modification. So for example, I can display the advanced dialog after I've selected this axis here. And down here in my live rules, I can then click here, or I can press Control-E on the keyboard, and that'll bring up the advanced live rules box here. Let me unsuspend my live rules and make that again, hit Control-E. We can now expand this here. And you can see coplanar and is bringing these other faces along with us. You can clear the checkbox for one of the coplanar faces, specify that you do not want it to remain coplanar. So if I select one of these, I can make that face no longer coplanar. It turns regular gray, the same as the part color. These ones will still come along for the ride if I hit accept, as you can see there. I can also go back then to my live rules and make some other changes and change what faces and modify what face I want to move with the live rules. Within the dialog box here, you can right click and there are some shortcut menus. If you click on the coplanar move or each of the faces, it gives you different options. There's a relationship shortcut menu when you right click a relationship heading entry, and an element shortcut menu is available when you right click an element entry on the advanced page, such as a face or reference plane, one of these planes here. When you click on the element shortcut menu, you have the options to perform a variety of tasks. You can add the related element to the current select set. You can search the model for additional elements based on geometric condition. And you can also save these faces for other moves as well. Alright, that's all I had today. Here's my contact information if you have any questions. Replays of our lunch bites can be seen on our website at allyplm.com. Thanks for your attention. I appreciate it. I hope you found this session informative. If you have any questions or future topics, please email them to us. Once again, I appreciate your time. Thanks and have a great day.